Good morning. We are in Dunblane today, just for a short little day trip, and behind me is Dunblane Cathedral, which we are planning to visit, but first we're going to go to Dunblane Museum, then we're going to go to the cathedral, and then we're going to have a walk around the town centre as well, so please come along today. Oh wow, look at this down there. It's a pretty house, and here's the cathedral. It's looking pretty medieval. I'm quite excited to learn about the history of Dunblane. So if I'm correct, this building here is the museum, and it's run by volunteers, so it was only open on a Saturday at the moment, and so we had to come here on a Saturday. Here we are. Ooh, I love this low ceiling. This way. That's a beautiful chair. And of course, Dunblane is where Andy Murray, the famous tennis player, is from. So Dunblane is down here, Perth is over there, and here are some of the mountains that we have already walked. I love any old paintings, especially from the 19th century. I think this painting is lovely. Here's a timeline of Dunblane's history, which at first involves the Romans. So here on the nice relief map, you can see the Ochil Hills here. And this is where the Myatt would have been, the hill fort, which we have visited. And the Picts living there fought the Romans, who obviously started to build forts along the Gascoigne. And then down the way, and the Battle of Mons Gropius is supposed to have happened in the 1st century AD, I think, somewhere around the plains of the Myatt. Then there's another story to do with the English and Scots. Right at the end of the 13th century, Edward I starts invading, also known as the Hammer of the Scots, and he captures a lot of Scotland, but he hasn't captured Stirling Castle yet. So in Dunblane, he prepares for it, and he takes the roof of Dunblane Cathedral, which was only finished at the time. This is like the beginning of the 14th century, and he turns the lead into missiles, and then he builds a massive trebuchet. And even though the people at Stirling Castle surrender, he still apparently had a lead missile shot into the walls, and it crushed a whole wall before he allowed them to surrender. And then in 1715, there was the first Jacobite Uprising, and the Jacobite troops were congregating around Dunblane whilst the government troops were coming up, and so they ended up fighting on the plains of Sheriffmuir. But people of Dunblane also were wounded and killed in the process, and they long after they were telling the tales of violence and all the things that they had seen. I like sewing machines. I have a sewing machine myself. Beautiful. The museum house itself apparently dates from 1624 and it was originally owned by a merchant, so it would have been a shop. You can still see some crosses on the outside which would have been part of the shop, and then the merchant's crest up there. So now that we've finished with the museum, it's time for the cathedral. bell and a rooster and a chicken. No wait, that's a pigeon. Never mind. And who's this? Earl and Countess of Strathearn, 1300. Oh no, wait. Here it is. The picture stone. And here's another stone. Here's some pretty Celtic notework on the side of the stone. This is just a door behind here. Oh, I love all the little details. Alright, so I'm gonna walk around. Here's the big massive tower, which is probably one of the oldest parts, because here's the door that they used to have above ground, and then probably a ladder leading up to it that you could pull back in to find safety during raids and stuff. Big protective tower. Now, I'm a sucker for architecture, so I love looking at all the different details, the masonry, the woodwork, all the lovely carvings inside of the church as well, all the carved furniture. I love all of it. Here's another beautiful door. So I went around the back of this building here and found the old Bishop's Palace. And there's very little of it left. And there you can see a sign. Ruins of the Bishop's Palace, probably 13th century. Here's a little description. I guess this would have been the middle of a town square or something. So I couldn't get to that part of the river because there's a rubber ducky race going on. So we're gonna walk along this path for a little bit.
the end of the bridge was Netherport, where tolls were taken on market days from medieval times until well into the 18th century.
You can see the cathedral from here. And that's the Netherport down there where they would have received goods coming up from the river. Well, it is a very charming looking place, that's for sure. I love little closes like that. This one runs directly from the Highstreet down to the river. The shape of these towers reminds me of rockets that are ready to fly away. We've also driven out to Sheriffmuir to look at the battlefield, and there should be a stone, and there's also a memorial here. It's a beautiful view of these hills as well. And here is the big monument, which is a monument to Clan MacRae. Yeah, that's the one, Clan MacRae. So here's the plain of Sheriffmuir. That might just be where they fought the battle, either up here or further down. So this is the gathering stone apparently. And I guess it refers to gathering for battle. And it's been protected by an iron cage. It does seem to have some kind of writing on it. And right nearby, some of the biggest blueberries I've seen this season. There's tons of blueberries here. Didn't resist to collect some, but we are running out of space. And there's still so much. So many blueberries. And we're back. And these hills are the Ochil Hills. So that there, somewhere there, is probably Dumyat. I don't know if we can see it because it might be behind the bend, but this is the way you would go up. So then, thank you for coming along today. Thank you for coming to Dunblane with us and to Sheriffmuir. And I hope you have a great day. And thank you for watching. Please come back next week. Just one more stop, because on the map it says that this is the plain where they probably had the battle. And it's looking quite flat. So like the whole area is probably part of the battlefield.